Hey guys, what's up? And today we are going to talk about some of the popular books that I ended up DNFing. I'm definitely one of those people that is not afraid to DNF a book if I'm not enjoying it. I just don't see a purpose in reading a whole book that you're not enjoying when you could be reading a book that you really enjoy. So that is why I am a firm believer in DNFing a book that you're not enjoying. Or DNFing a book just because you don't want to read it. And so, since I am very prone to DNFing books that I really am not enjoying or interested in as the story goes along, I have DNF'd quite a few popular books. I only have 6 today, but if you want me to do more, then I can. I do have a lot of popular books that I DNF'd. They're just not my cup of tea sometimes, and that's fine. Not all popular books are going to be everyone's cup of tea. I don't like fantasy, so I don't read the really big popular books usually. So let's get into it. The first book is The Girl on the Train. I don't own any of these, by the way, because I DNF'd them, therefore I don't own them anymore. But the first one is The Girl on the Train by Paula Hawkins. I loved Into the Water by Paula Hawkins, so I assumed I would love The Girl on the Train. I was very wrong. I tried to read this book physically, I tried to read along with an audiobook, and I've also just tried to listen to it on audiobook. Well, I cannot get through it. I find it so boring. I don't think there's going to be any sort of big reveal that's going to be enough payoff to sit through that book. So that's why I DNF'd it. I just didn't think that there's going to be a big enough payoff for me to even care. It is an unreliable narrator, and it's a thriller, so therefore the unreliable narrator trope is very overused and oftentimes not great. um, so I would I would say that this was just not my cup of tea. If you like unreliable narrators, then you'll probably enjoy this book. If you like bad thrillers, which is a guilty pleasure of some people, which is fine, then you'll probably like this one. It is very, very boring. I think I read 100 pages of this book, and literally nothing happened. Nothing happened at all. So, that's why I DNF'd it. These are my opinions, don't come for me, just like, these were just not my cup of tea of books. The next popular book that I ended up DNFing was Truly Devious by Maureen Johnson. This was an actual surprise DNF for me. I got about 150 pages into it, and just stop reading it. And this was why. The fact was, Truly Devious is a series, and I realized that whoever's reading it, are not going to get a big reveal at the end of this book. You are going to have to sit through 3 other or 4 other books, I don't know how many books there are, to figure out what these mysteries, like the answers to these mysteries are. And no, I'm not doing that. If it's a mystery, if it's a thriller, I want the big reveal to happen at the end of the book, especially a book that is pretty big for a YA. So no, honey. I was not invested in the story, didn't care about the characters, and I really, really did not want to sit through another 3-4 books that are about 400 pages each to find out what's actually going on. There's 2 mysteries going on, I believe. This was quite a long time ago that I read this, I guess I read it last year, or attempted to read it last year. And yeah, if you have to sit through a lot of books to get anywhere, no. I'm not doing that. So yeah, that is why I stopped reading it, just because thriller mystery series, not a huge fan. I want a one and done. I also hate series, so you know. The third book on this list is definitely one that will bring some controversy, but I'm ready for it because I have a real reason for DNFing this book, and it is Ready Player One by Ernest Cline. I don't understand how people love this book so much. And then there's like a second one. Why? Okay, my issue is that this book is so sexist and so homophobic that, or LGBTQ plus phobic completely. Um, not even just like homophobic. It's literally just like, hey, let me just insult every person in the LGBTQ plus community. Let's just do that. And then also like the sexism, how women are talked about in the book, how they're described, how the men or how the boys talk about them. No, 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 no. We're not doing that. I'm so confused on why this is so popular. It's so problematic, and I'm not even sad that I DNF'd this. I read 100 pages of this book, and the amount of comments about women, about LGBTQ plus members, no. Absolutely not. I don't understand why it's so popular. It's not even great. Like, I was very bored with it. I tried to watch the movie, couldn't get through the movie. So, no. No. The next book we have is Children of Blood and Bone by Tommy Adeyemi. This book, literally the only reason I had to DNF it was it's a fantasy. I tried it, I really did, because I wanted to expand my horizons and see if I was actually missing out on anything. I'm not. Um, but I did end up giving this book to my sister because I think she'd really enjoy it. But fantasy's just not for me. That's the only reason I DNF this book. There's probably nothing wrong with it. It has, I think, like, average reviews. So if you like fantasy, I would check it out. But fantasy's just not for me. That's the only reason I ended up DNFing it. The next book that I ended up DNFing was A Little Life by Hanya Yanagihara. And, oh, yeah, this one might also cause some controversy. But my friend and I, we were buddy reading it, and we both decided we were bored. We got 100 pages into it, like to part 2. I think it's just like part 1, part 2. And we didn't enjoy it. It was very, very boring. Very boring. I kept getting all the guys confused. The only one that stood out was Jude, because I think Jude is like when the person that all the stuff happens to. Maybe, I don't know. But I didn't want to sit through 300, 400 pages for it to get good and for me to just get emotional about stuff and maybe not even get emotional. So that's why I DNF'd it. I was not going to sit through, I think that book's like 700 something pages. I was not going to sit through hundreds of pages just to cry and be confused about who was who for 700 pages. No. No. Literary fiction really isn't for me. I also really don't like big books. I find big books to be way too long. There's no point in them. That's probably also why I don't like fantasy. Just because they're almost always big. And I just don't see a point in being so large that you're like 700-800 pages. Like, you're not a textbook Henny. And then the final popular book that I'm going to talk about today that I ended up DNFing was The Handmaid's Tale by Margaret Atwood. Listen, I tried for years to read this book. Years. I have only ever gotten up to like about 80 something pages. This year, I got back up to the 80 page mark and I said, oh, this is boring. So I was very, very bored. And my sister was over. I said, girl, is this worth my time? And she said, well, I think you might like it. I said, girl, tell me what happens. So she told me what happened. So glad I didn't finish it. I literally, none of it sounded interesting. It was a lot of stream of conscious writing, which is not my favorite. I really don't like stream of conscious writing because it's just like all over the place. There would be like timelines, and you wouldn't know that they've switched the timelines, like before and after, I guess, or like current time and before, and it's just like, when did we switch? And I'm confused on who these people are. So, yeah, no, it just wasn't a book for me, and I'm really sad about it because everyone talks about how wonderful it is. Also, the fact that, like, Handmaid's Tale could be our future one day is really disappointing, really sad. But I don't have to read the book to know what's going on. I may try and watch the show again. I tried to watch it a few years ago, and I got really bored with it, which seems to be what's happening with Margaret Atwood's books. So yeah, so those are the 6 books that I ended up DNFing that are very popular. So I hope you enjoyed this video, and I hope to see you in the next one.